And so let's start with Chris. So Chris, I mean, you may not even know Chris, but Chris is the true star because Chris flies below the radar. He got his projects, he got his budget, and we're coming towards the end of the cycle, the end of the year, and you don't hear anything about his projects because generally they've come in on time. He's delivered them, maybe a little under scope, maybe a little bit over what it was managed, and there's no noise.
Chris has little face time with the executives because there's
no need.
There's not issues, right?
Yeah. And so he just goes about doing his thing, not a lot of noise and whatnot. And then, Pat, on the other hand, Pat spent the last 3 years working on his project. It's, 300% over budget and whatnot, but they finally have line of sight to go live with this thing. And, it's now down to the last 3 months. And wouldn't you know it, Pat is working 70, 80 hours a week, and he's making everybody else work 70, 80 hours a week. And by gone it, at the end of that 3 months, they've delivered something that was supposed to be delivered in a year. At the end of year 3, with 30% of the scope and 300% over budget. But Pat generally gets all the kudos and the rewards because they work their off in order to meet that deadline and work all those hours and drag this thing over the finish line. But when you look at it objectively, it was the exact opposite. They burned through a bunch of cash. They didn't hit the scope. You're probably getting people quitting because they've worked so much, or they don't and they've had a really rough stretch. Unfortunately, for anybody who's worked in project management, usually that comes across at the end of the year, and it goes through Thanksgiving, it goes through the various holiday timeframes into New Year's, and I don't know how many times people have had to work through New Year's, through the holidays.
Can you tell folks that Jim has worked with a few Pats in his day?
That's right.
Can you tell?
I've been the Chris. I've been the ugly duckling who's delivered on time, but no, I mean.